What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Keegan and Company podcast. We are a mental health and psychology podcast, specifically in sport. If you're new, if you're returning, welcome back. My name is Keegan Hipgrave. I'm a former professional rugby league player. Now I am a psychology student. I host this mental health and sport podcast, Keegan and Company, and I am, endurance sport enthusiast, if you would say. I did this little post the other day around all the things that I've done since retiring from professional sport, and I've dabbled in randomly jiu-jitsu, but probably more so now in trail running and marathons and Ironman, and I think I've found my niche. I love these endurance sports. I would love to get into more adventure racing, trail runs, ocean swims. I feel like it's been so great. It's been such a great transition, but I don't know why I'm rambling so much. This whole episode is around smiling through pain, the psychology of smiling through pain, and why smiling through pain is such a trick, why it is such a hack to making our marathons easier, making our Ironmans, our high rocks, our 5Ks, our 10Ks, maybe even life stresses easier. This came about from, I just got home from London Marathon, maybe, I don't know, only a week or 2 weeks ago. And it was my favorite race that I have done since finishing footy a couple of years ago. For those who don't know, we're running all the major marathons in the world this year. We've got a goal of raising $100,000 for November. So if you like this episode or if you resonate with this whole mental health space, a little donation it goes a long way, and we'd be very grateful. But regardless, not what I'm here to talk about. I got home from London Marathon, and it was just like the funnest race I'd ever done. I guess I had not a great block because I just came off the back of Boston Marathon 6 days before. So I didn't think I was going to go in doing a big race. But I went in there and the race plan went to plan. I hydrated really well. But the biggest thing that I did was I was present throughout the whole race. And as you know, if any of you guys have been following any of the major marathons or London in particular, it is such a vibe. The vibes are pumping and people are on the street and they're cheering for you. And it's really beautiful. People are running off to the side of the road and hugging their friends and hugging their family members. I saw this one guy pick up his little kid. And so you can see how beautiful and how emotional it was. And I feel like for me, I was just smiling the whole time. I remember I even ran past Apple had an activation, and there was a band and some guys going. This guy was just like, "Man, you're smiling way too much. You got to be running faster." And I was like, "Oh shit, maybe I should be." But regardless, I just was smiling throughout the whole way, and it was such a positive experience. And I ended up doing a 4-minute PB, and I just had a really beautiful experience. And then it wasn't until I got home and I saw this UK TikTok, her name's Lucy. She did this whole TikTok about people smiling through pain and how it's a hack and how it kind of makes your marathon easier. Obviously it's a very clickbaity thing to do. But then I ended up asked a really great friend and mentor in the positive psychology space. And I said, "Hey, is there any research or literature to back this up? This whole idea of smiling through pain, does it make physical pursuits or physical endurance or really hard things easier?" And she's like, "Yeah, there is so much evidence and so much research around this." And she sent through a couple of articles, which I'll talk through now. And I think to wrap it all up, it's essentially just smiling through pain can actually help us perceive the stress or perceive this hard thing to be easier. There was a study done by Jazlyn H out of the Journal of Positive Psychology, amongst other researchers. But essentially, the article was called "The Power of Smiles, Mitigating Pain Through Facial Expressions." And essentially what they did, there was about 57 participants, majority female, but they had a mix. Younger demographic, so between 21 and I think 25. Essentially, what they had to do was like immerse their hand in freezing cold water, and they were monitoring the participants' heart rates, and they were monitoring their facial expressions. And what they found was 36.8% of participants just spontaneously smiled through the pain, right? And while other people was like, I don't know, whatever their other facial expressions were. But essentially, what they found was that the people who were smiling, like spontaneously smiling, had a lower heart rate and had an overall sense of calm throughout the painful experience. What they also found within that group of participants is that they actually had a lower heart rate before the perceived pain and after the perceived pain. And what was actually super interesting as well, that the participants that had a longer duration of smiling had a higher positive emotion after the pain. So it's like the people who were smiling for longer actually had an overall like positive experience throughout it. And I look at this, and so like I get this idea of like the research of this one research, and there's so many other research backed up. This is the one I grabbed. The idea of smiling through it and looking at the research and then looking at it through my own race of London Marathon and how happy I was. And then even afterwards, like, you know, I jumped on podcasts. We did this whole like London race recap YouTube that we now put up on live. It's actually a really beautiful video. If you want to go check it out, it's a full race recap. But I was like frothing and I was so happy with it. And I was like, I wonder if it's because like I was smiling throughout it and it made it a lot easier. I look back to the start of the year where we ran Tokyo. That was the first of the major marathons that we did, and it was hard. It was so hard. I was ruminating on pain. I don't know if I had phantom injuries, but like my Achilles felt like they were going to blow up. I was cramping everywhere. It was just not a painful experience, but I wasn't looking at anyone else. I had my headphones in. I was dialed in. I think I met like one friend throughout the course of the race. And don't get me wrong, in London, I didn't know anyone, but I was looking at their facial expressions and I could see them cheering me on, and I was just smiling and it was so happy. And I guess this kind of plays into the whole like sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, you know, our automatic nervous system. Like sympathetic is very much like the fight or flight response. So any time of like stress or anytime we feel danger, we just like naturally like dip into this sympathetic response. But if we can really dive into the parasympathetic nervous system or bring up this parasympathetic nervous response, which is very much like the rest and digest, the feeling of being calm, being restful and recovering. If we can dip into this parasympathetic nervous system while we're in a environment of stress, and danger, like running a marathon, like doing an Ironman, like doing a high rocks where we're really elevated, it'll lower our heart rate. It'll actually make us make clearer decisions, and it'll make us, I guess, be happier throughout the duration of this. There's obviously a heap of other ways to put ourselves in this parasympathetic nervous system. I know breathwork's a really good one. I love listening to Rory Warnock. He's a good friend, also an incredible ultra runner as well. He's got this really beautiful playlist on Spotify you can check out. Meditation, walks, gentle movement, all this stuff is really great to put ourselves back in that response. And so throughout this whole thing, like smiling through pain, I'm like, well, okay, that's great for all of us that are doing races. But for those of us who aren't doing races, like I wonder how this relates to everyday life. Even if we're not doing an event, and even if we're not electing to put ourselves in these really stressful environments, even if anything really hard comes up in our own life, our own challenges, our own stressful things, you know, whether it might be a relationship breakdown, financial stress, work's too hard, you're managing an injury, the ability to force a smile or even just look for the things that will make you smile will naturally lower our heart rate, will naturally lower, I guess, this stressful response and sit in this parasympathetic nervous system and actually overall perceive this whole stressful thing as being a lot easier and a lot happier. Anyway, that's me. That's my thought of today. I feel like this is so awesome. I think I'm gonna try and write a little Substack on this, or put some more content out about this, because this seems like such a really easy, simple hack that I didn't know about, and feel like I'm very much in this space. If you guys are with us till the end, can you let us know a time if you've done this? If you've done a race and you've been smiling, or you've been in a really stressful time, but you've smiled through this. Let us know what you did and how you perceived it afterwards upon reflection. I feel like I would love to know this. Guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, could I get you to hit that little subscribe button on wherever you listen to this podcast on? It actually really does help, and I would be so appreciative. Love you guys so much, and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.